The episode opened with Greg Gutfeld introducing his panel of guests, which included Charlie Hers, the co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend, who was described as charming, disarming, and spends his free time farming. Fox News contributor Tom Shalhoub, who looks like he has strong opinions about badminton. GOP Youth Advisory Council co-chair CJ Pearson, who looks so young, high school teachers still hit on him. And a female Fox News contributor and best-selling author. The show kicked off with a segment called Greg's Leftovers, where Gutfeld read jokes that didn't make it into the show during the previous week. The jokes covered a wide range of topics, including a one-but controversy about sex toys being thrown on the court during games, Major League Baseball's first female umpire, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's transportation demands, China's spacecraft testing, Fox News star Jesse Waters' encounter with actor Shia LaBeouf, one star Diana Taurasi's complaints about pay compared to janitors, a federal judge halting the expansion of Alligator Alcatraz in Florida, Rosie O'Donnell's comments about ABC potentially canceling The View, Trump's claims about Howard Stern's show declining after endorsing Hillary Clinton, criticism of the Associated Press for a story about Hezbollah terrorists, Nancy Pelosi's stance on gender-affirming care for transgender children, Ghislaine Maxwell not being permitted to train service dogs in prison, CNN's Casey Hunt facing backlash for comments about Texas Governor Greg Abbott, McDonald's launching an adult-oriented Happy Meal, and scientists discovering blue whales going silent off the California coast. Following the Leftovers segment, a significant portion of the show was dedicated to discussing artificial intelligence and its growing influence on society. Gutfeld began by mentioning director James Cameron's warnings about AI combined with weapons systems potentially leading to a Terminator-style apocalypse. The host quipped, "Well, I wouldn't want to be named Sarah Connor. People would assume I'm trans," referencing the protagonist from the Terminator films while adding a joke about gender identity. Gutfeld highlighted how AI is already being weaponized by scammers to mimic humans, citing an example of a 13-year-old who used AI to clone her mother's voice to trick her school into letting her skip tests and classes. He speculated about the broader implications, joking that he had already cloned his boss's voice in case producers ever asked him to appear on Fox and Friends. He also mentioned a recent study indicating that when AI's goals are threatened, it resorts to blackmail, including lying or stealing secrets to avoid being shut down, adding, "Apparently, it's modeled after Hillary Clinton." The conversation turned to researchers' attempts to prevent AI from developing evil traits by exposing it to small doses of those behaviors. Gutfeld compared this approach to how COVID was handled, saying, "Let's create the most dangerous form of something so we can somehow prevent it from being created at all." How did that work out? Millions of people died. We got Joe Biden as president, and I still can't get a decent bowl of bat soup in this town. Gutfeld expressed concern about the future implications of AI advancement. Nothing online or even heard over a phone will ever be trusted again because AI can replicate it. He shared examples of AI-generated fake images of himself and other panelists with babies, joking, "You can tell it's fake because Tyrus is never that happy," referring to another regular on the show. He posed a serious question about trust in the AI era. If your son calls and says he's been left on the side of a deserted highway by Larry Kudlow and he needs cash, how will you know it's even him? Even when you can see his face, his proposed solution was a return to face-to-face communication. Whether we like it or not, we're going to have to do something that we hate, engage in human contact. He suggested that in the future, people might need to adopt the practices of the mafia, relay information face-to-face on little scraps of paper, and then communicate our dismay by putting horses' heads in people's beds. Regarding job displacement concerns, Gutfeld suggested that unpredictable jobs might be safer from AI replacement. AI is a pattern recognition machine. It pores over data and finds patterns to predict what's next. Meaning, if your job consists of Monday being no different than Tuesday, then you're in trouble. He argued that creativity and unpredictability would become more valuable in the job market. This is a gift because it will force you to be creative, meaning being unpredictable because that's the only thing AI cannot replicate. Gutfeld claimed that AI couldn't replicate their show because of its unpredictability. One minute it's hilarious, the next it's absurd, then it's incredibly stupid. He joked, "Usually when I ask female guests to do math," trailing off to acknowledge it was a stupid joke. His advice for job security in the AI era was to regularly change what you do. then AI can never do it, describing AI as really just a cover band copying what's already been done. Charlie Hers offered that Americans might be better prepared to detect AI fakery due to being accustomed to advertising and sales pitches throughout their lives. If there's any place on earth that is prepared for AI, it's America, because we have always been sold to. We always know ABS artist. It's in our DNA. He noted that people are already getting better at identifying fake content, saying, "My teenage kids look at it and they go, 'That's bull,' and they just instantly know it because they've spent more time with it." Tom Shalhoub added that he wasn't worried about AI-generated news stories because I'm going to treat AI news stories just like I treat regular news stories. If I don't agree with it, it's fake. He also referenced James Cameron's claim that AI could never write an original screenplay because it wouldn't have the human touch, calling it hilarious because if you ask AI to write a screenplay, it writes you a James Cameron movie. C.J. Pearson expressed concern about automation's impact on blue-collar workers. "My biggest concern is with automation that we don't lose a lot of the blue-collar workers who are the backbone of this country." The female panelist mentioned receiving AI-generated fake content about herself, complaining, "They made me less attractive. Why did you make my nose bigger?" She added that people had congratulated her on having a second baby and a daughter, neither of which she actually has. The conversation then shifted to Gutfeld's recent appearance on Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show. Gutfeld showed a clip of their interaction where he playfully tackled Fallon, explaining that it was an impromptu decision. "I was going to talk about us being wasted. Maybe if I come in and I attack him like that, that will give me a segue into the wrestling story." He mentioned that critics expected confrontation, but he chose to be a gracious guest to a nice guy, emphasizing that late night needs more fun. He noted proudly that Jimmy Fallon's contract has just been renewed by NBC through 2028, jokingly adding, "You see that, Colbert? You should have had me on." Tom Shalhoub praised the appearance, saying, "It reminded me that I think you and Fallon have a similar energy in that the model for the late-night host was always kind of detached and, sarcastic. But both you and Jimmy enjoy yourselves when you're doing the show." C.J. Pearson suggested that Gutfeld's appearance on the show represented conservatives winning the culture war, citing it alongside other examples like Sydney Sweeney being the face of a major fashion brand's advertising campaign and them not just standing beside it, but doubling down on it. Gutfeld showed the panel a gift bag from Fallon containing various merchandise, including multiple children's books authored by Fallon. He joked about one book being a collaboration with Jennifer Lopez, mispronouncing the Spanish title and quipping, "It sounds like you might benefit from it," suggesting his own limited Spanish language skills. The conversation then shifted to Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, discussing allegations from staff that she rarely shows up for work and terrorizes them. According to Gutfeld, aides told the New York Post that she's never in the office. She does her viral thing that goes viral, then freaks out over the most random things. C.J. Pearson harshly criticized Crockett, claiming every time Jasmine Crockett opens her mouth, she exposes herself as the most fraudulent member of Congress. Everything from her fake wig to her fake accent. He added that despite her elite education, she would rather portray herself as a cast member of Real Housewives of Atlanta than a member of Congress. Tom Shalhoub noted that the story was based on 3 anonymous sources, but acknowledged that her focus on creating viral moments was obvious to observers. Charlie Hers offered a somewhat sympathetic perspective, saying it's very hard to be in Congress because you run for Congress. You do this for maybe a year, maybe more than a year. You're in the news every day and you start to think you're really, really important. And then you get to Washington and you're one of 435 people. He described Congress as high school for really ugly people, a phrase Gutfeld jokingly claimed he would sue anyone for stealing. Hers added that the absolute dead giveaway that all this is true is the fact that her office hires an Escalade in order to carry her from her office either to the Capitol, or which is across the street, or to a hearing room which is around the block. Tom Shalhoub compared Crockett to other celebrities who presented a nice public image but were reportedly mean to staff, such as Ellen DeGeneres and Rosie O'Donnell, adding that Democrats' attempts to adopt an aggressive style similar to Trump's wouldn't work because it contradicted their compassionate messaging. A controversial segment covered recent incidents of sex toys being thrown during WNBA games. The show played a clip of a coach condemning the behavior as ridiculous, dumb, stupid, dangerous, and disrespectful to the game. Gutfeld noted that an anonymous crypto enthusiast claimed responsibility as part of a group behind the stunts. He remarked, "It's refreshing to see the world of sports upset about this when before we were supposed to cheer for penises in women's sports," making a controversial reference to transgender athletes. The female panelist jokingly suggested the incidents might be an inside job for ratings. "This makes me want to watch the WNBA because I want to know when is the next dildo going to be thrown. Is it going to hit somebody? So, I think it's an inside job. They're doing it for ratings. I'm just asking questions." Charlie Hers admitted, "I am ashamed at how much I love this story," adding that it brings the 12-year-old boy out of everybody. He observed that the Wunba had asked for more eyeballs. "You got them and now you're mad because you got them the wrong way." Tom Shalhoub took a strongly different stance, condemning the behavior. "I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, these are women, right? This is disgusting. And there are kids going to this thing, like teen girls or whatever." He suggested harsh consequences. "If you bring one of these things and you throw it out there, you should be arrested and you should be charged with a sex crime and you should be on a registry. You can't take kids to like sporting events now because of this nonsense." Gutfeld mentioned that an 18-year-old from Arizona had been arrested and was being investigated for assault in connection with the incidents. C.J. Pearson took a more lighthearted approach, joking about his mother's reaction to him discussing this topic on national television. He suggested that instead of arresting these people, they ought to put them on retainer because the controversy had generated unprecedented interest in the Wunba, with people literally betting on whether or not the next dildo is going to be black, white, what else, which is probably a social justice issue. The show concluded with a viewer mail segment where guests shared their recurring dreams. Tom Shalhoub jokingly said, "I have a recurring nightmare that Greg makes me talk about sex toys on his show," before giving a serious answer. The female panelist shared that she repeatedly dreams about fighting over what length of shorts I'm allowed to get at Kohl's with her mother. C.J. Pearson quipped that like many 23-year-old men, his recurring dream featured actress Sydney Sweeney. God bless her. Charlie Hers revealed he dreams about living in a box under a bridge and to the point where I'm okay with it, which he found comforting because it made his actual life seem better by comparison. Gutfeld shared that in his recurring dreams, he's constantly encountering broken toilets. "I'm in this huge area and there's hundreds of toilets and they're all destroyed or defaced or broken and I'm running in, I'm opening up doors." The show wrapped up shortly after this personal and somewhat bizarre exchange.